Hello and welcome to Forever Box, and we are officially 1 month away from the first fixture where the green and gold will run out for the first time this year against the Barbarians for, by the way, what will be the Qatar Airways Cup, with Qatar coming in backing the game, which will take place down at the Cape Town Stadium on the 28th of June, 5 o'clock local time. I think there are a couple of sporadic tickets available if you want to go and try and get, but be prepared to pay a good premium for them. And today we're going to be talking about the Springbok number 15 jersey, because I think it's probably one of the most hotly contested jerseys in the squad at the moment, and there's lots of them, to be fair. I mean, the race for number 10, for example, is a really interesting one. For me, I think the race for, our starting scrum half is a very interesting one. The 8th man is always a big call, but I think number 15 in particular is going to be a very interesting decision this year, because we're going to see potentially the phasing out of Willie le Roux. Aphelele Fassi had the jersey last year, but Damian Willemse is back and fit and will want to get back that jersey, which he made his own during the 2023 Rugby World Cup. And then an outside shout as well of a player who has been around and had another very impressive URC season. Before we get into it, please do smash a like on the video. Please do subscribe to the channel as well. So the question is, who would my number one choice be for fullback? And for me, it's quite simple. It is that man, Damian Willemse. Now, yes, Aphelele Fassi was phenomenal last year and really took his chances with the Bok jersey. I think that, we saw a much more mature Fassi when he came back. Apparently when he exited the squad a few years ago, discipline and attitude issues were leaked into raised as a potential reason why he wasn't included. And, when he went back to the Sharks, he had one goal, and that was to get himself back into the Springbok mix, but to stay in the Springbok mix, and not just be a sort of a bit part player who gets called upon, in these sort of fringe games that don't matter, but a player who is a core part of Rassie Erasmus's plans for the 2027 World Cup. However, this man over here, for me, was one of the standout players we had in 2023. Not even just in the box, in the World Cup. There's just, as a fullback, very little he can't do. He's a phenomenal attacking threat. He's got that turn of pace. He's got that step on him. He's a brilliant defender. I mean, we remember that tackle he made on Caleb Clark where he tracked back and the diving tackle. He's a phenomenal defender. And his kicking game has grown so much in the last few years. So he really is the complete package. X Factor compiled with composure these days as well. He's really matured into a player. You don't become a double World Cup winner and a British and Irish Lions series winner at the age of like 25, 26 years old, unless you're something special. And he is something special. And I think really coming into his own. He's also got the ability to play across the back line. Can play 15, can play at 12, can also play at 10 if needed, and has started at 10 for the box. So very versatile as well. Now, that's an interesting point, the whole idea of versatility, because this man, Aphelele Fassi, has played a bit of rugby at 10 recently for the Sharks. And that is a big thing, I think, for a lot of these players, the ability to be able to cover different positions. And, Fassi also, goal kicking was an interesting one when he sort of kicked a few off the tee for the Sharks. Not particularly difficult ones, but it was interesting to see that he's obviously trying to add that to his game. Similarly, Damian Willemse has been doing a lot of goal kicking recently as well, also trying to add that to his game, because I think the Boks are very aware of the fact that we need to move away from just, one person does goal kicking, that's the fly half, because, you've got players like Amani Libbok who can change the Boks game with the way he plays, but maybe doesn't bring you that 80% goal kicking options. And if we have more options, for example, then you can sort of chop and change. And this is a really interesting thing, kind of that 4D thinking, where you've probably found there's a mandate actually from the Boks to say, listen, we need different options. We need to have options. Even if Andre Parrot's having an off game, do we have another option, for example, to kick for goal? And the more players you can add that sort of, feather to the cap, the more you become valuable to the Boks. And we're going to look at a couple of stats and sort of look at the URC season a bit. But the third choice, obviously, currently, is Willie le Roux. Now, he's got, 2 games I think he needs to get to 100 caps. Once he gets to 100 caps, I don't think we're going to see as much of him, moving forward. Simply because we've got so many good options. He turns 36 this year, so he is coming to sort of that stage. And I think this will be his final Springbok season. He still has it in him. We've still seen him play really good rugby for the Bulls. And if he was 32 years old, for example, he'd be in part of the long-term future. But he's not. And the important thing, I think, is he's still good enough to play for the Boks. But again, we've got so much talent in the position, we need to start sort of probably phasing him out, given the youth. We really want to get him to that 100 games, and he deserves to get to the 100 games. Then the other option who's coming through the ranks is Quan Horn, a young player, 23 years old, and having another storming URC season. Made his debut last year for the Boks against Portugal. Got a card, unfortunately, for him, but he also scored on debut. And we'll look at some of the stats of the URC, the different players, and he's had a phenomenal URC season. And in fact, this is how good he has been. He is currently ranked in the number 6 of the top 100 in the URC, which, by the way, Recheko Baditswe and Che currently tops. But that sort of shows you just how good he's been once again this season. He has been the form fullback in South Africa for the season. Yes, Aphelele Fassi, Willemse have all had a couple of injury issues. Willie le Roux kind of in and out the sides. They kind of look to rotate. But Quan Horn has been absolute centerpiece in that line side and one of the few things worthy of celebrating. So if you look at some of the stats, for example, of these players, Damian Willemse has played 11 games throughout the season, and I think he's currently 25th in that sort of their top 100 ranking. The main thing is that he's back, and again, goal kicking, which is quite interesting. He scored just the 2 tries, but 39 points so far this season. He's been playing a lot of rugby at inside centre, which is probably why, for example, defenders beaten. He's currently got he's 19th in defenders beaten, 13th in offloads. He's 48th when it comes to meters gained and 47th meters carried. Defensively, just so solid, isn't it? 72% success rate, making 68 tackles over the season. And in terms of penalties, he's got a penalty. He's had 2 drop goals and he's had 10 conversions throughout the season. But what's quite interesting is the fact that obviously disciplinary-wise, it's been quite weird from Damian Willemse. He's not really somebody who often gets carded, but now he's all of a sudden got a red card and a yellow card. But he's looked very good, especially short the last few weeks. Started to see the Damian Willemse fall. I think it was a little bit slow getting back to it, but it's really caught up. Aphelele Fassi has not played as many games we'd like to have seen. Just the 9 games so far this season. He has managed to score 3 tries in those games, and he does rank quite high in meters gained, despite not having played a lot of the rugby. Defensively, still a bit of a question mark, below that 60% threshold. Whereas Damian Willemse is over 70%, for example, Quan Horn's close to 70%, I think 68%, similar to Willie le Roux, also on 69%. Willie le Roux, has played quite a bit. I mean, he's played 13 games, but not been maybe as... The problem is, I think, we don't see try assists because he has been a big part of that. But, he can turn it on, but I still don't think we're looking at the Willie le Roux in his prime. But the reason I'm sort of still on Quan Horn is because he now has to be part of a genuine conversation. He will be pushing Fassi every step of the way because this is how a season reads. He has got 2 tries to his name, but if you look at his attacking stats, for example, he ranks 25th in clean breaks with 14th, but 5th in meters gained with 836. He's also 3rd in defenders beaten with 59 defenders beaten. He's also had 17 offloads, and he's 13th in the number of carries he does make. Defensively, as I said, 68% task success rate, but this for me is a huge part of his game. And he's got ranked 5th in kick meters, which is 3,810. That left boot of his, I think, would be a huge asset for the Boks. Because it is first of all, gives you a left boot option. We look at how Ireland use James Lowe so often. But Quan Horn's kicking game is a different level too. I think he's probably got the best kicking game of the 3, if we're being brutally honest. And very good with ball in hand. So the nice thing, I think, is that if we look between... Even if we take Willie le Roux, if we look at Damian Willemse, Aphelele Fassi, and Quan Horn, quite different players. You've got Aphelele Fassi, I think, is he's X factor. He's got genuine pace, raw pace. He can kick and chase. He's got that sort of just that raw pace, and can create something out of nothing. Damian Willemse, similarly, he's a bit more sort of measured in terms of what he uses, but he's got that step. For example, he's very clever in the way that he sees the space and then attacks it. And he's also got the physicality to get through defenders and also to stop defenders, which is why he works inside centre. Quan Horn is a ball in 2 hand type of player. He's very deceptive, I think. And I think that's quite an interesting thing, is that he's been on the block for a while, but people still, I don't think, realize how quick he is. And he's a very smart player, very intelligent in terms of the way he looks at space, the type of gaps he takes. But again, ball in 2 hands. He always looks to potentially kick him behind, play in, and I think that there's a maturity there, which is what the Springbok coaches really see in him. So at the moment, it's for me, it's a dogfight. It's Damian Willemse versus Aphelele Fassi, and I think Willemse for me gets the nod. But as soon as he has a couple of games, Fassi will know that he's right there, and as soon as he gets the chance, Fassi's going to put a lot of pressure on Damian Willemse. But I do think that we need to find opportunities to get this man playing, because there's a proper player there, 23 years old. He'll be 25 at the World Cup. Fassi 29 at the World Cup, Damian Willemse 29 at the World Cup. I mean, that's such good depth to have. And Quan Horn can also play on the wing, which is quite nice as well, but is for me an out-and-out fullback. And Fassi as well can also play on the wing, can also play at fly half now, so that's definitely getting into it. But then the main thing is we've got three pretty much, pretty test-proven fullbacks at this stage. Maybe Fassi probably needs another season to be called test-proven, but I think then a fourth, which is a world-class player in waiting. So once again, we're looking at a position where we've got very good depth, and a position where it was between Damian Willemse and Willie le Roux. That was basically only the two of them for a long time, and we've now got two other candidates really coming through and putting a lot of pressure on them. Which would you go for? Who would you start against the Barbarians? I'd love to see Quan Horn, to be honest. But I think Damian Willemse needs some game time in a Bok jersey. So what do you think? Let me know down in the comments below. Smash a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel as well. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Steve. I'll chat to you soon.